Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Canadian Bowler Podcast. Happy Bowls Day in Canada to everyone from Canada here. It's our big, I guess, Bowls open house day slash event that we have every year in Canada. So it's a pretty exciting day. Figured we'd have a little bit of a unnatural start time slash day. Partially related to the fact I'm having a garage sale here in Saskatchewan. Thank you for accommodating me, my wonderful co-host Daryl Fitzgerald. How are you doing, Daryl?
I'm all good. Yeah, happy Bulls Day. Hope everybody's gonna be celebrating Bulls in some fashion, whether you're at your club or doing something fun. It's a good day to just get the word out about Bulls in Canada, and you know talk to people about it, and really just spread the word.
Yeah, it's actually a really cool initiative Bowls Canada came up with. I think 3 years ago, maybe, or 3 or 4 years ago is when they started doing them, and it's a good way to get people out to your club. And I know my club personally uses a second open house essentially, where we have people come out, give it a try, and then really kind of advertise as much as they can. So good way to get people at the door, and then really, as you're saying, celebrate the game, which is what we're always trying to do.
Yeah, we typically at my club run a community barbecue kind of thing, sell tickets, and it's like a giant like pig roast and chicken roast and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty big. We're actually doing that tomorrow, but they're doing open houses today to get people involved. So it's going to be a big weekend of bowls and cool stuff going on at the club, which is also good. So yeah, just keep getting that word out and let's grow that sport.
I guess before we really get too deep into the show, just gonna do my normal spiel, reminding people to like, comment, subscribe here today. So if you're watching the show, hit that like button. Any sort of feedback or anything like that helps us out immensely. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe. Any subscription helps us a lot as well. Trying to hit, I think our goal was 2,500 by the end of the year, and we're slowly trekking towards that. So hopefully we can get there. If you aren't able to catch us live, we are on YouTube, usually within about the day. You'd be able to watch this after the show. And then if you're a podcaster, we are on all major podcasting platforms within the week of the show being on. So quite a bit of stuff to cover today, Daryl, hey?
Yeah, yeah, I've got notes everywhere here, so we can kick off wherever you want to kick off.
Yeah, I think the both of us had to like go separate ways and get separate notes on different topics, because there actually is quite a bit of news today, and it's kind of, I guess, the beginning of the bowl season or ending of the bowl season. And if you're in Australia, so it's kind of everywhere in the world is currently able to bowl at this point. So it's actually pretty awesome to see all the different results and things that are going to start rolling in over the next few weeks.
Oh, 100%. I'm excited. It's I know some bowl stuff has already been going on in some provinces, and Ontario has had a bunch of tournaments going on in preparation for the provincials kicking off. So seeing bowlers out there actually bowling, having a good time, and greens getting filled up, that's really cool to see after so many years of not seeing that.
Yeah, like I'm right in the training or getting ready for provincial season here in Saskatchewan. Like next weekend is our first provincial, so it'd be men's and women's fours in Saskatchewan, and it's just kind of a weird sensation to be playing practice games and practicing 3-4 times a week, like trying to get yourself ready as much as you can for an event where it's like been 2-3 years since I've really kind of thrown the competitive shoes on, and it just felt so weird. Felt like I'm like knocking rust off my legs or something like that. But it's a good sensation to have again.
Yeah, I'm probably not playing that much this year. I'm gonna pick some really fun stuff to go into, but I'm really trying to ramp up my coaching side of things. So for those of you out there, especially in Ontario, I'm going to be putting on a bunch of clinics and courses and all that kind of stuff. So keep an eye out for that. And if you're interested in getting coaching, if you don't have a coach and want some information, make sure to reach out or even come down and see me, and we can get you started.
And over the next few weeks or months, I guess, any of the provincial results that anyone wants us to cover, definitely let us know. I'm planning on trying to recap anything I get. I do a pretty good job of messaging people or finding stuff online myself anyways, but sometimes it helps to get it directly from the source. So if you want to reach out to us, give us your provincial results. We'll be more than happy to cover them on the show. And I think I'm even planning to do sort of a preview for nationals once we actually know what the field is looking like, sort of to hype it up a bit and sort of talk about the different teams that are showing up, because I feel like we need to hype up nationals as much as we can, because it's pretty awesome in my mind.
It is, and there's, you know what, there might be some streaming of stuff going on. I know we're going to be trying to stream some competitions through the Canadian Bowler, but Bowls Canada stream stuff, which people should really check out and support. And on that side where you were talking about sending in stuff, yeah, make sure if you have results to big tournaments, big events, provincials, all that kind of stuff, send that into us, because I've got to be honest, when I was going out looking at some provincial websites, some of them are really good, some of them are not so good. So, I mean, it's hard to find stuff sometimes.
Yeah, I think my way was the polite way of saying that I'm pretty good at finding information, but there are some provinces that are pretty difficult to find the info on unless you actually know people from there. It's a lot easier if you honestly get reached out to by someone. So if you want to have your results, or I guess even the Maritimes probably already know who's going to nationals. So anyone from the Maritimes wants to tell me their rosters, we'll be more than glad to cover them on the show here. It's probably going to happen eventually down the line, but if you want to get ahead of the game and hype yourself up before everyone else even knows who's going, we'll definitely pump you up, because we're excited for the season. Like, I think this is the first year I've kind of been able to do something normal in a long time. Like, I think you're not going to play in WOBA, but I'm coming out to Ontario to play in WOBA, which was it's my favorite tournament in all of Canada. I love going every single year, and I loved going every single year in my early 20s. So I'm great that pretty happy I get to go back to it for the first time in about 5 or 6 years here.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. 125 years. That 125th year is paused for a couple of years, but they're finally going to get at it, and it should be a really, really good time. We'll recap some of the provincial stuff going on a little bit later in the show, but yeah, tons and tons of stuff going on.
And I guess you sort of touched on it when we were talking there, Daryl. You said that we're planning to do some streaming. I think Phoenix Bowls has got their first event coming up. What is it, a couple weekends from now or something along those lines?
Yeah, so June 18th, Port Credit, Lemoyne Club, the first of the Phoenix Championship qualification events will be going on. I will be there streaming, or trying to stream. We'll make sure we try our best to get you some coverage from that event, let you see what it's all about, and you can chat with me live if you're able to tune in. They'll have another event August 13th. We'll try to recap some of the events and also promote some of the events going down. And then the championship event for Phoenix is September 17th, and those are both at my home club in Heritage. So I'm hoping I can be there to stream those as well.
That's pretty exciting. August 13th, that's right around nationals. So if I qualify, I might have to toss my name in the hat, I guess. All right. So I guess we can move on to a bunch of our news that we got here to sort of pass your way. So the BPL occurred. It was starting when we were doing our last show a couple weeks back there. So there was the BPL occurred in Australia, which was, it's always a spectacle or a good thing to watch. So that event went off pretty much without a hitch. Did you watch much of it, Daryl?
This time around, I didn't get to see as much as I usually do. I like to tune in and try to catch a bunch of it. It's in odd times, so sometimes it's really early in the morning or whatever. But this time I didn't. I got to see some of the final stuff, which was really, really cool to see, and that's always exciting because the teams that are playing well are usually in the final, so you get to see some really good bowls. But it was, it's always exciting to watch, always a fun watch. So not as much, but next time I'm going to try to watch a little bit more.
Yeah, it was. I was looking at the results and sort of writing them all down so that I could pass them along here. And some of the times they have listed there 4 or 5 a.m. for us is a little difficult to tune in to some of the live streams, but you always can catch their highlights because they're quite good at posting the highlight reels and making a good little highlight package, which I always check it out personally. So it's great to see. If I kind of go through what happened there, after the round robin, the first place team was Melbourne Pulse. So they ended up finishing first in the round robin. Teams that got through were Melbourne Extreme, the Brisbane Pirates, going off the top of my head, Moama Steamers, and the Tasmania Tridents. In the knockout rounds, Tasmania took out Moama Steamers, so Canada's own Ryan Bester fell off in that round, so to Tasmania. And then Tasmania was knocked off by the Pirates, and then the Pirates got knocked off by the Melbourne Extreme, who lost to the Melbourne Pulse in the 1-2 game to see who got to go to the final. And then they met again in the final, so Melbourne against Melbourne. And in the end, the Melbourne Pulse ended up winning. So they won the round robin, and they ended up winning the championship. So that team, I think they won 2 or 3 BPLs ago as well, and it's kind of the regular team they've had for a while: Gary Kelly, Barry Lester, and Ellen Ryan. So pretty strong team. Barry, we've had him on the show in that event, and they played great. I watched all the highlights. I kept watching. They always seem to be very close games, even the couple that they ended up losing. So it was great to see that.
The Pulse is, they're also, I think they play quite a lot together, because I think it's the same team they use for the UBC as well. Just under Dandenong, right?
Yeah, I think Dandenong is Gary and Barry, almost rhymes. They play together a lot. I've seen them play quite a bit together, those two. And then I think Ellen is honestly a fantastic lady to just throw into that team if you're doing a triple, really strong treble. I guess if I want to cover the 2 teams that were in the final, the other team was Matt Flapper with Ali Forsyth and Carla Krasanik. So again, that if you look at that whole roster, or the rosters of all those teams across the board, it's actually a really impressive event to see all the different teams. And then I like seeing the new teams out there, like Tasmania Tridents is one of the best names they have in that whole bunch. And for them to make the knockout round, I was pretty impressed to see a new team sort of coming up through the ranks, because it's kind of been like the usual 3 or 4 teams, I think, that kind of almost seem to alternate who wins. And then there was a new team actually sort of in that knockout round, which was cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a fun watch. We always encourage people to check out the BPL, support it. It's coverage that we don't get here in Canada, so it's good production value. You get to see the shots, highlights, all that kind of stuff. So definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, Australia, it's got quite a bit of events going at this point too. Like I think right now they're doing the Australia versus New Zealand event is at the Trans-Tasman. Yeah, I think the Trans-Tasman just started yesterday or the day before. So a lot of those people that are probably just finished playing BPL would have gone right over to that and started playing in the Trans-Tasman. And then I think you were saying to me the Australian Open starts probably within the next couple of weeks too. Is that right?
June the 11th, I believe. Yeah. That's going to be obviously super huge, because that runs June 11th to the 24th, I believe. Australian Open's always massive part of the calendar for bowls. So yeah, lots of bowls coming up.
Yeah, we're gonna have quite a few results to throw your way there. Probably next show we'll have Trans-Tasman, and then even probably at that point a little bit of the Australian Open, probably be almost halfway through. So it'll be exciting. Lots of news to throw your way over the next few months here.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to switch gears a little bit and go to Canada as far as the Bulls go. We've got a ton of stuff coming up in the provinces, and I've got a ton of stuff going on. I mean, Quebec, I think, is in the provincial playdowns right now. I think they've got it scheduled for 2 weeks, so this week and next week, to do pairs and fours. Ontario's got fours, pairs, and singles coming up in the next couple weekends. Obviously, in Saskatchewan, you've got the same thing. You do fours, pairs, and singles all in June, so it's just bang, 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 all going off. Alberta singles come up first for them, June 17th to 19th, and then they do the fours and the pairs after that. And then BC is a little bit later than everybody else. They do all their stuff in July. But yeah, just tons of stuff. I couldn't find every single province if they have some stuff going on, but that's just a ton of stuff going off in the next couple months.
Yeah, no, as I kind of touched earlier, give us your results, get us your results if you can, because we're gonna definitely love covering them and bring up whatever provinces we can as they go on. We'll definitely pass the results along because it'd be nice to sort of see our first full blown nationals in what 2019. So going on almost 3 years. So it'll be great to see everyone and see all the results again.
Yeah, some provinces have been a little luckier than others to run some sort of a provincial type thing. And it'll be nice to see if more and more provinces get their results done and get people to come to nationals. That'd be really cool to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the participation and everything as well too, because I know some places seen a little bit of posting about tournaments in Ontario maybe not having as many people coming out to them, specifically about the gas prices being a major problem for a lot of people because it's not exactly cheap to drive a few hours in your vehicle anymore compared to maybe a couple of years back. So hopefully we still kind of get normal entries and people showing up to provincials because it'd be a shame to see sort of the price of life, I guess, getting in the way of people being able to bowl and participate in the events that they like to play in.
Actually, that we've discussed this before off stream, but question for you, Mike: the fact that some tournaments in some areas and some clubs, depending on where they're located, are having a tough time getting people out to tournaments. Do you think? I mean, obviously, gas prices and travel and all that kind of stuff play a part. Do you think this is strictly COVID related, or do you think it's just not worth people driving that far with these prices for the prizes that they may or may not get?
Like I, personally, from what I've seen around our club this year, like people are ready and more than willing to come back and try and play the game. Like we've had quite impressive showings at our open house, despite the fact it was pouring rain. Like, and then we have B cubed, like the league that I've highlighted a few times. They ended up selling out B cubed as a league, like
Awesome.
literally 30 teams. There's 100 plus people there each Thursday night. So there's lots of interest and people are still wanting to play. I think you did kind of touch on it or hit the nail on the head a bit where it's traveling whatever distance you have to do to get to a tournament. If it's a single day tournament, chances are, if say the entry is $30, that's not going to deter you necessarily. But the fact that you're probably spending, we'll say $60, $70 in gas instead of $30 in gas, and if you maybe won the tournament you're going to get $100, so it's like it becomes a thing where even if you won the tournament you're maybe breaking even. So I think that's probably your main problem with a lot of these smaller tournaments maybe not filling up is unfortunately the prize money just isn't large enough to make people drive that 2 hours or however long they have to drive to get there, because $2 a liter is a lot different for gas than for saying the normal $1.20 type of thing. So
I have a prediction, and I guess bring out my crystal ball and see if this actually comes true in the future. But I think what we're going to actually see is I know in Ontario, and you can comment on Saskatchewan and whatever, but in Ontario, our tournament calendar is just packed. I mean, if you wanted to travel around just the province, you could play every single day in many, many different places. But I have a feeling that um, tournaments are going to struggle a little bit, just with possibly reduced numbers overall, just a matter of fact. Prices, gas prices, travel, all that kind of stuff. I have a feeling that we're possibly going to see a very reduced tournament schedule, and maybe just the core ones that get a lot of support, that have the prize money, that people find are worthwhile to go, whether it's just a really, really good time or it's a lot of money that you're gonna get. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's actually going to be a good thing if we reduce the number of tournaments overall. Clubs can focus on their members and their communities. Like you said, the B cubed sold out. Get events like that where you get community and local people where they're not traveling hours and hours to play. They're traveling a few minutes, maybe a half an hour, whatever it is, to come and play for the night and have a ton of fun. That's not a big deal. And I think maybe this is actually a really good thing for some provinces to focus on the club, focus on building their membership, and get away from just relying on tournaments 100% to start funding their club. What do you think?
Well, you're saying all the things that it's kind of been something I've preached for a couple of years. Is I really think the grassroots part of the game needs to be focused on to kind of bring bowls back to a level that it might have been, say, in the 80s. Is kind of the time that I know when we had heavy membership kind of all across Canada. Was there was a heavy grassroots movement there. It was very much a come to the club, have your tea, play your 10 end game, whatever it might have been. So that's sort of how I saw the game. Like, it was kind of in its heyday per se.
Yep.
And I think that's something that's kind of gotten swept under the rug a bit. But over the last probably 20 years, there's been heavy recruitment of trying to go young and focusing on that, when sort of that elderly crowd that was kind of the main staple of bowls, like as unfortunate as it is for a stereotype that we kind of get, it's something we still kind of need to embrace, because they still are, and probably for the foreseeable future will be, the majority of the members. So
Right.
I think you kind of need to focus on that community, building the community as you're talking about, getting those kind of extra members. And then a lot of those tournaments, which is the more competitive side, unfortunately, I think are pretty saturated, or it would be a word that I'd maybe use for it, that there's a lot of tournaments, and realistically, a lot of them probably might end up falling off, which is unfortunate in a way, because that's revenue that a club's going to lose.
Right.
But if they're really focusing on bringing in that local community, kind of maybe building their membership up, doing local events, or just letting people come in and try and have fun nights, kind of like a B Cube type of a thing, I think that's probably the best movement that we can almost have for bowls across the country, is trying to do something like that and focus on that grassroots development.
Well said. Well said. Cody, Mr. Tennessee Titans, man himself. Cody, how you doing? Good to have you in chat. Everybody, if you're in here watching the show, we monitor chat, we answer questions. So, ask us your questions, give us your comments, and we'll give you a shout out on stream.
Say it. We guess we got to probably throw him a congratulations. I think he ended up winning a tournament. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? It looked like him and the Whites ended up either winning or doing pretty well at St. Mary's, I think, at a Fours event. So
that's right. Congrats
to them. It was the team of the Beards with Gary. Gary didn't get the memo. It looked like Malcolm, Trevor, and him all have pretty nice shaped beards, kind of like us. And then Gary was clean shaven, so I kind of got a chuckle when I saw the picture of them, because Gary just didn't get the memo to grow out his beard for a week or something like that.
I gotta say, I did hear about the tournament, and it was funny because there was a couple people that were watching, I guess, what was going on, and saw Cody's team playing, and didn't recognize Cody right off the bat, I guess, for whatever reason. Maybe it was the beard, but a couple people said, it's like, oh, I saw this guy, and it was like, why is he, who is this guy? And he's playing so well. It's like, well, that's Cody.
Yeah. So, we're both very familiar with Cody. I'm pretty sure on site, either of us would be able to say that's Cody. He's a distinctive guy, and I'm probably wearing a Tennessee Titans hat. So it's probably one of those things that I guess when we've known him for a good 15, 20 years, each of us. So thanks for coming in the chat, Cody. We got other news, Daryl, don't we?
Yeah, before we move on, we talked about WOBA. WOBA's going to be coming up this year, 125 years. It's at my club, so I can do a shameless promotion of that. But for those of you that are looking for something to do outside of your province, for those of you looking for something exciting, something new, something really, really fun, WOBA is one of those events that you can go to and have all of that. And surrounding that event, in probably within a half-hour drive, 45-minute drive, there's a ton of other tournaments going on with some really, really great prize money. So if you are flying in, if you do have to travel, it's definitely worth your while. So you got WOBA, you've got the Becker Pairs, which is this year $1,000 top prize. Will be on July 16th, so just before WOBA. You play WOBA, then you got the Woodstock 2-day pairs, where I think first is $1,000 as well. And then you've got the Milton Skins on July 23rd, which is again another money tournament where you just go out, play a skins game, which is really neat if you haven't ever played that before, and you can win a ton of money there too. So a great full week of bowls that you can do in Ontario, and prizes are good, people are good, and just make a huge week of it.
Yeah, no, that was my regular tour every single summer, was come out for that week and a half and catch those tournaments that are just before and just after. You can really make a, if you want to, pretty much bowl for 6 of 8 days type of a thing. If you're out there for roughly just over a week, that's kind of what you could do with WOBA, and they're very competitive tournaments with pretty good money. So if you're if you're confident in your bowling, you could probably come home with some money if you ended up winning or doing well in all of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we've got some other news. Are we going on to the sad news with this one, or are we doing the Commonwealth Games?
Let's end on a positive note. So let's start with the sad news, I guess.
All right. Um, I'm gonna butcher this because in Wales, for those of you that didn't see any Facebook posts or anything, there was a club in Wales, and it's spelled Gilfach. I think it's pronounced like Gilfy or Gilfi or something like that. Uh, Gilfy Bowling Club in Wales. Um, their whole clubhouse burned down, and based on the news, it happened like in an hour flat, like just leveled. We have some pictures here, which I'll bring up. So this was the club before. Looks like a really nice club. It looks like it's kind of up on the hill because you can kind of see that view out in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Looks really great. Unfortunately, something happened and it just caught a blaze. And like I said, within the hour, it was reduced to pretty much nothing, which is really, really sad to see. Um, we know how here in Canada we struggle to get clubhouses, let alone keep them and everything. And to see something like this happen, it's a real tragedy for that club and probably that area. Um, we do in the description below, we have a link to a GoFundMe, which they have created to try to raise some funds to help them kind of get back on their feet and help them rebuild a clubhouse. I think they're either edging on or may have already hit about £4,000 out of 5,000 that they're trying to get just to help the club. So if you're feeling generous, for those of you that are in the UK that want to support, your fellow players out there, go check out that GoFundMe and try to help support the club. I've never been in Wales. Sorry, I've traveled in Wales, but I've never actually played in Wales. Mike, you've played in Wales. What do you have to say about what you experienced over there?
Oh, it was great. Like, I can't speak more positively about my experience in Wales. Like, they were one of the most hospitable groups of people I've ever been about. Like, if you needed a ride outside of like the normal transportation to like go into town, or you wanted ideas for places to go for food, everything like that, the locals were more than willing to help. And I know when we played there, there was, I think, 4 different clubs hosted the event that I played in, which was essentially a test match for the Atlantic Championships that they later hosted. So they had 4 different clubs going, and I know all the clubs were very interconnected and like working together. Like the volunteers from all these different clubs were coming. So I know it's probably pretty devastating for that club or the people who play out of that club, because I'm imagining all of the clubs I went when I was there had pennants and trophies type of things that have been around for, I don't exaggerate, 150 years type of a thing, and probably got destroyed in that fire. I'm going to assume that all their trophies and whatever is probably not going to be all that salvageable. So although you can't really get that back with a little bit of money, it's hopeful that something like this GoFundMe can help them get them back on their feet again and get sort of a clubhouse back in its place so that they can replace some of the items they need to sort of function. Because I'm imagining, again, bowls probably are gone. So it's just one of those things to even work as a club, or they probably are going to have to do some work now, which is very unfortunate. And to lose all that history again, terrible. So if you do have any sort of money or you have an inkling to support them, please do, because I'm sure they're needing just about anything that they could get at this time.
Well said. Uh, Sad news, but moving on to, I guess, slightly more positive things. The Bowls Australia announced their Commonwealth Games team, and they announced their main team and the Paras team, so their full team, which is really really cool to see. I'm just gonna go through the names right now, and then we can chat about it a little bit. So on the men's side, on the main team, there's Carl Healy, Barry Lester, friend of the show, Ben Twist, Corey Wedlock, Aaron Wilson, and on the pair side, Damian Delgado, Peter Doherty, Jake Felberg, Grant Felberg, and Chris Flavel. On the women's side, we've got Lindsay Clark, who was on for an interview with us as well, Christina Christic, Ellen Ryan, Rebecca Van Ash, Natasha Van Eldick, and on the pair side, Helen Boardman, Serena Bonnell, and Cheryl Lindfield. Just to note, pretty interesting for the Commonwealth Games. On the men's side, we've got 3 people making their debuts. So Carl Healy, Ben Twist, and Corey Woodlock on the main team. Ben Twist and Corey Wedlock, I know a fair bit about. I've seen them play, watched them play, whether it's BPL or whatever. Corey Wedlock obviously has won a number of BPL titles, a number of junior titles, going up, and is a fantastic bowler. The only person I didn't recognize was Carl Healy, but when I looked up his stats, obviously, when you're looking at Australian players, they have so many things to play in: state titles, national titles, events like BPL, UBC, all that kind of stuff. He's done a ton. He's won multiple Australian Opens, from what I can see. I think he's got like 20 or so appearances for Australia already. So, it's not like a brand new thing, but it's a few of them, their debut for the Commonwealth Games. And on the women's side, Christina Christic and Ellen Ryan are making their debuts on the main squad as well. And I think Mike, you and I can both attest that they're both fantastic female players on the Australian side. So it's really cool to see them get their chance.
Yeah, no, kind of surprising that it would be a few of those people's debuts because they're such high-end bowlers. Specifically on the men's side there, like I know Corey and Ben were both at that test match that occurred in Wales. I think that was sort of like Australia's first sort of branch out to playing on Northern Hemisphere greens, and they ended up winning that event. So I know they played well there. So I'm thinking that of the selections probably played into some people who have pedigree or have played well on sort of the slower greens before. So I'm pretty confident that team is gonna be in the running for some medals, because really on both sides, para and men's and women's, both sides on all of them, I think you're going to probably be seeing Australia either in the knockout games or in the medal games for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. When you look at Australia, you can compare them to, say, like a Scotland or in England. The depth out there for people to make the team is probably, the list is long. There's people with tons of accomplishment that didn't make this team. That if you had switched a player here and there, you may say, "I was like, hey, that's a hell of a player." You wouldn't say much about it. And same with like Scotland. The only thing that you'd probably bat an eye at for something like a Scotland is if you saw the trio of Marshall, Foster, and Burnett not on the team, and someone coming in, that would be kind of the shocker there. It's unlike any other country. The depth is long. Canada, some of the other smaller countries don't have that depth, so you do see a lot of familiar faces coming out of those countries. So it'll be interesting. There's a ton of experience. Obviously, Aaron Wilson won the singles in 2018 in Australia. Barry Lester, a long time Jackaroo, has played in. This might be his third, I want to say, if I remember correctly. Lindsay Clark, I think this might be her fourth. She's been on the team for a long time as well. And Rebecca Van Ash and Tesha Van Eldick are rock stars as well on that side. So a lot of experience, a lot of great players, and even the new ones that they come on are very strong. So, good team.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. They've got their roster announced. I think Canada's probably about the only country in the world that hasn't announced our roster at this point. I imagine that's probably coming very soon, but it's oh my goodness, just over a month until the Commonwealth Games. So I'm sure we've got our roster coming out soon because pretty much most of the major nations at this point have done their announcements. So it'll be exciting to see whenever our team gets announced too.
Yeah, hopefully soon. And we will do a rundown of that once things do get announced, which will be really cool. And hopefully, we've got some interviews coming out with the next couple shows, which are really neat. But hopefully, we can get a couple players on to talk about their selection and what they're doing to prepare for going over to the UK and all that kind of stuff. That might be a really neat thing to have once the team is announced.
Yeah, I'm sure me and you will be able to twist a couple arms and get someone to show up for us because I think we know every single person that's probably could be picked. So hopeful we'll be able to get a guest.
I hope so. Other cool stuff. Like I said, we're going to be trying to stream a lot more. We are doing the Phoenix, and we're hoping to keep that partnership going because we really want to support all these new initiatives that are going on, and we think it's a really neat event that's going on in Canada. If we can, we may stream some other events to see how that goes. We did try to upgrade some of our equipment recently, so hopefully, fingers crossed, that helps us make a better product and stream it out to you guys in a good format. We know that Canada doesn't have a ton of stuff streaming. There's a little bit, but not a lot. So the more we can get out there, the more that we can show you what's going on in Canada, the better, really.
Yeah, no, we've done some investing ourselves and the equipment we're using in the background. So I think when you're streaming there in for Phoenix, you're probably going to have a better setup, well, a much better setup than you had last year, where we kind of threw that together on a couple of weeks' notice. This year we've been planning, and you watching here today is supporting us and helping us do things like putting some money into our streaming equipment. So that's something we're actively over time going to keep doing, keep investing, because it's something we're very passionate about, is developing that streaming. As you're saying, it's not a very common thing across Canada, but we wanted to make it pretty commonplace, and Canadian bowlers doing all we can to kind of invest and make ourselves having that ability to put on a quality stream for wherever we go, for whatever club's hosting in a major event.
Yeah, and if things go well with the Phoenix and we're able to really get that thing running smooth, hopes is that we can start offering our services to clubs and events and stuff outside of that, and start streaming there, and maybe bring on some people to the commentary team to fill in those spots, because it's tough talking all day on stream to a camera. So having someone to talk to and having new people in to talk about the game is always really cool. So Cody, which Phoenix event are you streaming? We are streaming, well, we're going to try to stream them all. That's one, but the one we are definitely streaming coming up is the 18th, the one in Port Credit. That's going to be our kickoff to this year. So we'll be there. If you are there or you're in the area, stop by, say hi. I'll be there doing commentary and doing all the setup and work. So come say hi, show your support. It's always much appreciated when we meet. It's strange to say meet fans, I guess.
I think if Cody maybe stops by the booth, you'll probably rope him in there and get him to join you for some commentary, because he'd actually be a good person, I think, to do some commentary with you. And as you're saying, it's hard to talk to a camera by yourself. You get a little lonely, so it's always nice to have a little bit of a dialogue. And people specifically, if they've played against players before and things like that, they always have nice little insights and information about the people. So I'm excited to watch you stream the Phoenix, because unfortunately, we don't make enough money with the show here for me to fly out and help Daryl for the weekend. I would absolutely love if that was a possibility. However, it's not. So I'll watch from a distance and hopefully enjoy it just as much.
There's your cue, folks. So, share it with your friends, get them to subscribe. The more subscribers we have, the higher chance we have of flying Mike around the country to help us commentate stuff. So,
Okay. Was that all we had to cover today?
as far as news goes, but because it's Bulls Day in Canada, I just wanted to throw this out to you. What is your favorite thing about Bulls? What do you really like? I mean, I know you're ready to get back out there and do stuff. But what keeps you going? Why do you do the podcast? Why do you want to support Bulls? Why do you continue to do it?
That's a loaded question. You want me to do a whole TED talk here or something?
Yeah, why not? Cody's listening.
Yeah. If I were to sort of narrow it down to a few things, my family is heavily involved in Bulls. It's always been a thing my family's done and enjoyed together. Kind of the club that I'm part of in Regina, it's always felt like a sort of a small family, pretty tight knit club. So it's something I've always enjoyed, being around that club. My mother was pregnant and lawn bowling with me, so I've literally essentially been bowling or hanging around that club since I was an infant. So I have very many memories running around the park that's just outside of it and everything there. So I love Bulls for that aspect. And then as I've gotten older, I love the social part of it, because I would not have very many friends in Ontario if I didn't lawn bowl, but I can probably say I have almost more friends in Ontario than I do in Saskatchewan, because over my years of lawn bowling, I've made many friends out in that end of the world. And if I'm ever out there playing in tournaments, I love to meet up and see all the people from all across Canada. So I love the fact you get to travel, you get to see your different friends and really enjoy sort of that social aspect as much as you want. So that's why I love Bulls. That's why I do the podcast, Daryl. I really think it's something that lots of people could pick up and enjoy, and however social they want to be or however competitive you want to be, it's a sport where you can kind of do whatever you want. How about you, Daryl? Why do you lawn bowl? Why do you do the podcast?
For me, the main part, obviously, I think both of us share, is family. My dad got me into it. He doesn't bowl anymore, but he got me into it, and that was the main reason why I did get into it. I stayed around because I love competition, I love sport, and this gave me the ability to play in a ton of places, learn something new, and I think the opportunities that I saw were really there. Now, fast forward to now, the podcast is because I just love the sport so much. I think it does so many good things for so many people. It's inclusive. Visually impaired can play, all paratypes of all grades, because we do have it in the Commonwealth, a bunch of different grades of para can play it, and can play it at a high level. And it's a sport that I think is really underappreciated and underserviced. So I just feel that we need to get out there and do as much as we can for it. I love doing this because I've met so many cool people through the interviews. Obviously, Mike, you and I have become closer friends from doing this, which we would have hated each other and never spoken if we saw each other at nationals and whatnot. Otherwise, maybe. And yeah, for me now, it's coaching is my passion. I found that through Bulls. I didn't do that in any other sport. I didn't do that in anything else that I've done. So it's given me a new passion in life with coaching, and Bulls has given so much to me, not financially, but every other way. So I just wish more people would play it and give it a try.
Yeah, said it perfectly. Two introverts started to hang out online and realized that we actually don't mind each other. When Daryl and me probably knew each other for a good 5-6 years and had said maybe 10 words to one another,
Yeah,
very much in passing. And we're just both very introverted people. If you ever meet us in person, we're not super chatty Cathys, but the fact we've gotten to know each other here, it's sort of expanded our friendship. So
Yeah.
We might say more than a couple words to each other when we see each other in person now. So
That's right. Yeah.
all right. Well, that was a good discussion. I enjoyed being able to talk about why we're here and why we like bowling, because today is that day to celebrate it. So if you're watching the podcast, I know it's a little early out on the West Coast. We had someone comment, "I'm sorry it was so early. I'm having a garage sale here in Saskatchewan today," and Daryl was happy to let me start the show early. But hopefully you're able to get out, everyone, and enjoy the day. I know it's pretty good weather here in Saskatchewan. I don't know about the rest of Canada, but hopefully the weather holds out and that you are able to go out and enjoy Bulls Day.
If if you're going out to enjoy Bulls Day in Saskatchewan, be sure to stop by Mike's garage sale on the way and pick up some stuff. He'll be happy to give it to you.
If you're a lawn bowler, there are 2 sets of lawn bowls I could sell. I just didn't put them out because I don't think it's a huge market. I don't know if someone would buy my lawn bowls at my garage sale, but there are 2 sets I could sell you if you show up.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, if that's it, I guess one last reminder to like, follow, and subscribe. So if you are here, please hit those buttons. They help us out immensely. Maybe get me to Ontario a couple extra times a year if things really go well. And with that, may all your Bulls be touchers.